This is Talking My Walking. I am Rodrigo Ribeiro, and today I'm going to talk about empires as for profit and control criminal entities. Empires are often portrayed as the spreaders of civilization. They civilize the people running empires, the conquerors, the imperialists, the plunderers are supposed to be benevolent people, people that occupy other people's territories, kill people, and destroy destroy nature in search for natural resources and minerals and whatever it can be profitable. They are portrayed by many historians, and in many books. There are so many books written to tell us, full of narratives that portray empires as these I would not say humane, but at least responsible for the progress of humankind. Without empires, it is kind of that humanity would not progress. What is progress, by the way? It's sometimes we take progress as technological progress and cultural and societal complexity, but that's not progress. Progress, the true progress, it doesn't mean that the cultural evolution and societal evolution. I mean, I don't like the word evolution, but change for more complexity cannot bring us sophistication in arts and sciences and in many other fields that have a positive side, okay? But that we need to understand that it is done in name of wealth accumulation and power. We cannot have simplistic views about civilization, and we cannot have simplistic views about the nature, about the peoples that are not civilized. So that is, there can be, we can have civilizations or a civilizational paradigm that really implements the progress of the human kind, of the human being, as a human being, to become more humane, and therefore, in my opinion, that should be the purpose of civilization, not really for very highly sophisticated technologically and culturally and artistically, but at the same time, I would say a more dehumanized and insensitive human being in many aspects. I'm talking about not individual people, but of course as a regular people, because we are not focused. Our culture is not focused in the development of the human being. It's focused on the human being as an instrument of the economy, as the economy is supposed to be on the top of the the society and the citizens, which the human beings are supposed to serve the economy, not the economy to serve society. And why? Because in a for-profit economy, it is obvious that the people that are part of the elites and the top 10% of the social pyramid, they want to keep it that way. They do not want any change at all. The imperialist civilizational paradigm that has been dominant for millennia has used oppression, coercion, repression, all sorts of violence to impose a class caste system in order to funnel the wealth upwards and concentrate power, and that then the elites can control the many, the lower classes, by by rewarding the what we now call the professional managerial class, in order to be the ones that help the elites to control the lower classes. This should be the divisions and subdivisions of the main classes are just they have a purpose, and the purpose is exactly to keep people divided, to keep people focused on their own niche, on their individual and family interests, and do not understand the need that the wider community, the unity and organization, an organized and united broader community would have the power to challenge these people that exploit us, because they are parasites. You don't call them entrepreneurs. They are entrepreneurs. That doesn't mean that some people are not entrepreneurs, genuine entrepreneurs, okay? But this is not how the system is set to operate. The people that are called entrepreneurs, they are opportunists. And the more financialized an economy becomes, the worse it becomes. We need to understand how manufacture scarcity, which means the way the elites put us in a state of scarcity, make us live in a state of scarcity, therefore that makes us weak and in a state of having not many choices but to look for a job, because one of the main points of manufacture scarcity is the enclosure of the commons, which means the private control of the means of production and resources and everything else makes the rest of us, or most of us, live in a state of we live in a state of, we are deprived of the means to live, okay? That's it. We are not born into a level playing field. That is a lie. We don't live in any form of level playing field. We live exactly in a system where manufactured scarcity is used to manipulate us, and in the manipulating to us into investing in a career. We are not supposed to invest our human development. We are supposed to invest, and this is a kind of very horrible word, the meaning of it, not the word itself, of course. We accept this paradigm because we are told, and everything around us reinforces it. The reality around us, the cultural reality, the social reality, the ideological reality around us, which means the environment where we are born and grow tells us that we compete with each other since we go to school, and the ones that have more ingenuity and work hard and are more diligent and smart, they will thrive. They will have more opportunities to thrive, first if they do well at school, and then in the job market, so-called job market, they will find better opportunities to have fruitful careers. Is this a lie? No. That's not the point. The point is that makes us adapt to a system, puts us in a state that we have the need. It is required, if you want to have some sort of success, to adapt to the system, not challenge it. You are allowed to be innovative, and you allow me to be an entrepreneur. You allow technological and scientific. I mean, you are allowed to do research and investigation, and use your creative imagination and all your potential to in most of it for the purpose of having a successful career and for profit. Okay, you are not allowed to use your skills, your natural innate talents, to challenge the system. You are not supposed to ask questions, inconvenient questions, because those inconvenient questions, first of all, they might bring you trouble. You know, they might bring you trouble because you might lose your job. You might. I mean, there can be a lot of negative consequences. And second, you are going to be neglected or ostracized, of course, and vilified for sure, and ridiculed, because you don't understand it. You are the one. You are part of the people that don't understand. You don't understand reality. That's because of human kind is like that, human behavior, and there's nothing wrong with the system. It's about the individuals. What's wrong is with the individuals. And again, this is not a lie, because there will always be individuals that are sociopathic and psychopathic, that will show psychopathic and sociopathic tendencies, and other mental derangements. And of course that is a reality, that is part of our reality, and we have to deal with that. But what we are doing is we are rewarding them. We are rewarding the ones that exactly should never be allowed to have positions of power or roles in our society. It doesn't matter if it's in science. There are many crazy people in science. In in the name of science, they can do a lot of damage and a lot of wrong and morally unacceptable things. So therefore, science, politics, technology, any field of our economic system is full of people controlling it that have really little to none compassion and empathy. And that's the people that we are supposed to see as idols, as heroes, as saviors, as leaders. And that's an interesting thing, and we have been doing it since the invention of the imperialist civilization. And it seems to be that we, in spite of all the knowledge, the accumulated knowledge, and all the scientific knowledge, and all our technologies, we seem unable to perceive reality, the human condition, through different lenses. It's because science is also blind. Science is not science like any other. We think science is about facts, and for sure that science has a lot to do with facts, okay? But science narratives are not factual, are based on facts, but are narratives, are part. All narratives, as they have a part, they are telling us a story, and that story is always a bit fictional. There's always some elements of fictional elements. So we do not. That's how we share with each other the stories about reality, how we perceive, how our culture perceives things, and that's how we. So science is not about telling us the truth. It's about telling us a story that can be about facts, but can be also facts distorted, and distorted intentionally or unintentionally because of the biases, the ideological biases, the cultural biases, and other and the prejudices that we all have. So science is not about telling us the truth, even in art sciences. But okay, in art science, it's the language is more specific. So in the mathematics and physics and the chemistry as well, it is more difficult to create to falsify. But they use frames, and those frames, the framing is also gives also a story. That's how we communicate. We don't communicate without using framing. When we build a phrase, we are framing. Doesn't matter that we are intentionally trying to manipulate what we are trying to the message we are trying to convey, but we need to do it. We don't have any other choice. So this has been and we are entrapped in this kind of paradigm. And it doesn't matter. We have more and more sophisticated technological society and civilization. We have a global civilization because we have a global civilization. We use. We even have behaviors in spite of our cultural differences and and religion, different religions and worldviews and this and that, we have a global civilization. And this global civilization that was built first of all by the Europeans and the Americans, or especially the Americans, the last 70 years, with the intention to control the world. Globalization was about the intention of the American and or Anglo-American imperialists to control the world economy, to control the world finance, and to have geopolitical control as well. That was the intention. That no other country. That the intention was to create a global empire, the first truly global empire. Not through occupying every piece, not through conquer and occupying and invading every piece of country, but through several different strategies and tactics and through allies, puppet governments. There is still the operation that we can easily sort it out. It's very easy to understand, and that was not a single strategy, but different strategies with only one purpose, and that purpose was to dictate the global governance, not exactly global governance, a global governance, using allies, puppet governments. And that would imply that no other nation, that no one single nation on earth would be allowed to become an adversary, to challenge the hegemony of the Anglo-American Empire, or if you prefer, the Pax Americana. So, we are educated, indoctrinated, instrumentalized to become cogs in the machine. We are not educated to become critical thinkers, to have critical analysis of the reality, and to challenge the reality. We can engage in many activities that are supposed to be that have a certain element of rebellion. But they are not rebellion, they are rebellion against customs, the rebellion against certain traditions, gender roles, and the so-called culture wars. And but we are not supposed to be rebels against the system. Of course, in my opinion, rebellion, we cannot be rebels without causes. Okay, that's absurd to be just a rebel against and not being organized. There is no role for rebellion without consciousness. You need to have a cause. We need to understand that cause. We need to have a purpose. We need to understand it, and we need to understand what are the why do we need it? What's wrong with the system, and what can we do not to save the system? Because we need to understand, is this system, even if we assume that China, which is the rising power among others, but of course China is is by far more advanced and more powerful. Is it different? Does China does not has the same or at least same many features of the imperialist civilization? In my opinion, it has. It has. I truly believe that China is not like America, and China is not looking. It's not is in a great power competition, but not with the same, because it has no other choice. This is not a question of wanting to become to replace the American empire with the Chinese empire. It's a question of survival. It's the problem that if you have an empire, if you have an imperialist civilization ruled by criminal entities for profit and control, for wealth accumulation and control, and their intention for decades, maybe already over a century, their intention was to create a global empire, the first global empire, totally controlled by them in perpetuity. And there would be no other power, no other nation, country, or group of countries would challenge that global empire. What don't you see that the Chinese don't have any other choice but to defend themselves? That's about protecting themselves, because otherwise they would be destroyed. This is not being pro-China or whatever. It is the reality. This is the reality. They don't want us to understand. I mean, this is not about being anti-American or anti-European. This is about a long story of imperialism and imperial empires perceived as enterprises for the progress of humankind, when in fact it was always about conquer, plunder, wealth accumulation, power and control, both at the domestic level, which means that the people at the center of the empire also pay. They might gain some for a while. They might enjoy better lives because of the plunder, but in the end they will be asked to pay the bill, and will be repressed and punished if they dare to ask the wrong questions. Again, it's always about asking the wrong questions. And usually we are supposed to perceive ourselves as free people, enjoying, I always have to remember that George W. Bush phrase, they ate our freedoms. Yes, they do. They don't. The other peoples were the American imperialists, the neocons, and the British, and the French, and the Canadians, and I mean, the whole gang. They drop the bombs. They drop on and destroy entire nations. Is not the reason why they hate Americans or Europeans or whites in general. it is because they ate our freedoms. The most impressive thing is people think that this kind of slogans and catchphrases do not have an effect. They do. They actually, many people believe, take it by its face value, because they don't question. Because exactly most people live their entire lives in an adaptive mode. Yes, that's what we do. We fight for a place in society, as if we should not be part of society because we just, we have to fight for a place in society. We are not, and then you have this idea of winners and losers, which I frequently talk about. And of course we take this reality seriously, because that's where we have to survive. Which means that most of us will take our roles and functions, our professions, our careers very seriously, because we can assign meaning and purpose to many things, even things that do not make sense at all, unless we have a deeper understanding of the human condition, and we really ask questions about the purpose of life. We might get it wrong, because we might get it wrong just because we do not this ability, this innate ability to adapt to so many different cultures and realities that we build ourselves as domesticated animals. We do not. We never question it. I mean, we might all our lives never question if our societies and the civilization that we take for granted or as granted, I never know which one to use, it is dysfunctional or not. It is humanizing us or dehumanizing us. And why should we take as granted or for granted that technological development is the same as human development? That's what I don't really understand. That's not I really understand. It's not what I want to say. This is why it is important that it has to be us, each one of us, to have some hard questions, to try to come up with those questions and then find answers for them, and try to have a more holistic understanding of life. And because otherwise we never change, we don't change, because we are trapped in this in the Tina spell. There is no alternative. Of course there is no alternative unless we think about it. If we accept, if we never dare to question its existence, or if it's good or bad for us, and if it makes sense to live the way we live, and to and to respect and the people that we to respect and follow and obey the elites that are controlling our lives and dictating our future, if that's what we believe it's the right way to live, and this should exist forever because there is no alternative. I think it is a very this I would not call it freedom. I would call it perception manipulation to manufacture consent. That's what it is, and I mean, and I think that's not the purpose of life. The purpose of life is not to obey or disobey, is to obey in some circumstances and to disobey in another circumstances. So there is a role for both for both things. We don't need civilization as human development is acceptable. I mean, I don't. This is not the right word. It may be part of human evolution. We might. There is probably no way to. Probably one way or the other. That's what I mean. Civilization would become part of the reality, human reality, because of our ability to build and transform, and to build tools and transform raw materials into objects and other and many things, devices and things like that, things that are helpful for different purposes. That was, and since we were naturally able as to use our creative imagination to create, to express ourselves in symbolic terms, so through paintings and music and dancing, it would be a question of time that we could figure out how to use symbolic language, which means to create symbols that represent language, like numbers and letters and the other signs that we use, that start to be used long ago. So this evolution, this cultural evolution, I mean, this cultural evolution, I don't know if it's an evolution or not, because the word evolution is already weaponized and is charged in ways that sometimes we don't even know how to use it. But it would probably not be. It would probably happen one way or the other. That's my point. Is that it would happen one way or the other. So, and also people living in larger groups in certain situations because of food abundance or climate, or I mean, you know, that would be a possibility when you learn to grow certain foods. When agriculture, when we learn to grow and select certain varieties, and it starts to make sense to settle down and build bigger cities, because it's the result. It's not because you intend to build a bigger city. It just happens because it's the natural way. It is normal that it happens like that. The people grow if they are well fed, and if you don't feel the need to move and you feel nice, you feel comfortable the way you are living, the numbers will grow. And you might feel the need to move, or split like the Ives do, and other you split. You just form a new troop or a new group, and you move to found a new community elsewhere. So, but this idea of civilization as the growth of cities and the cultural sophistication, it is something that we need to accept it as part of our cultural nature. Okay? So, what we need to understand is that this was instrumentalized by people, by people that foresee, that have been able to foresee opportunities to themselves to control other people and have power, because they were ambitious, because they were intelligent enough. Because sometimes, if somebody is intelligent but is cooperative and doesn't have ambitions and has a lot of empathy and compassion, of course that person is not going to see the world as a place to conquer and to control. But someone that is an intelligent person and understands that he can manipulate the people around him with narratives and building a group around him that will create the legal a legal system to protect, to legitimize them, and the moral code to glorify them. Of course, this person or this group of people will create a system, a hierarchical system, that they will make sure that their own interests are protected with layers of walls, of firewalls. That's what classes are. The subclasses, classes and subclasses. It's firewalls. It's the walls that work to protect the the top of the pyramid. And when these people are able to create, to use the development, they will never be happy with what they have because they are ambitious. They will come up with stories and narratives and schemes to convince and to coerce the fellow citizens into traps, like that we will share the plunder. Then we'll go to because there is always the idea that the others are not civilized. We have to civilize the uncivilized. Because if we are more sophisticated, if we have a more sophisticated culture and society and technology, is because we are superior. That is one of the main fallacies. It doesn't mean are we more sophisticated as human beings? No, of course not. But we are supposed to assume that we are superior, eventually because of the color of our skin, eventually because of our religion, of our culture, of our technologies. It doesn't. The reality doesn't work like that. We can have the example now. Does the Chinese are inferior than the Europeans? So why could they? You can say that they have been stealing the intellectual property. You can use that excuse, but the fact is that the Chinese, in half a century, transformed their societies from a rural society into a powerful technological society. I'm not saying if it's good or bad. I'm just saying that it's just one proof that the China has more engineers every year than any other peoples in the world. Because we are all equals. There is no such thing as inferior people or uncivilized people. That's the problem with the idea of civilization, because we just use civilization as a tools to separate the so-called savages to the ones that build cities. But that should not be the concept of civilization. The unique concept of civilization, it would be the cultures that humanize and the cultures that dehumanize. That, in my opinion, should be the way we should should understand civilization. Not because of cultural sophistication or technological sophistication or artistic sophistication. Because simplicity, there can be a lot of sophistication in simplicity, and we can understand simplicity. We can not simplism. Okay, I'm talking about simplicity, not simplism. It can be a lot of sophistication in the understanding of nature and reality, and having a cosmology, a simple cosmology. Okay, because it's not the misconceptions and the flaws of the inferior cultures. We might say, oh, okay, they don't understand because they have this understanding of nature and of this phenomenon, and that because they don't have knowledge, and scientific knowledge tell us otherwise. That's true. But the culture is not about truth. Is about functioning. It's about making a community functional. That's what culture is about. Is not only about to know the truth, because if it's about to know the truth, we, the sophisticated ones, with highly technological societies, we are not exactly a paradigm where truth and justice are respected, or even or search, or if people want to know the truth. We live in managed societies. We don't have that. We cannot trust each other. We have to. Everything has to be done through contracts. That's the only way we can. We don't. I mean, it's not that we are better. We know we have a lot of knowledge that allows us to understand life processes and many things that, of course, a more a less sophisticated society and culture doesn't have it. But it doesn't mean that ours is better or more humanized. In some cases is, and in other cases it is not. It depends on how the building of the culture of each community is a process, is a very important process, and who has more influence in the building of any culture. It is very important, because it can have a lot of influence where how the culture, what kind of culture they will become, and that is that's again who had the ability to shape, to manipulate their fellow citizenships in order to build a culture in their favor, or in the favor of particular groups, instead of the collective well-being, which is the only moral way to build a community, not based in superior and inferior groups and classes and castes,